my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Kyla, and in this video we're going to be doing the Finally Fall book tag. And like, yes, it's finally fall, and it actually feels like fall now, and I am just the happiest person ever. I feel like this time of year is the time of year where I become like alive again, like I become a human again, my truest self. I am obsessed with everything autumn. I'm an autumn enthusiast. Thank you, shout out to darling Desi for these incredible sweatshirts. God, I knew as soon as I saw them I had to have one. I wanted to get one last year. I didn't get a chance to. I missed out on the dates. So this year I made sure. Anyways, I'm obsessed. And yeah, we're going to talk about all of the fall related books today. I do have the questions on my phone. This tag was originally created by Alina Milena, but I don't think that she has a channel or her video is up anymore. It's privated. I've tried to dig and find it to list like the original creator below, but unfortunately I don't think it's up anymore. So I will have the questions listed out in the description for you in case you would like to do this video. I will tag some of my friends in the description to do this, but if you would like to and I don't tag you, please do so. I cannot wait to watch these come out. I've already been seeing them pop up in my subscription and I'm like, yes, absolutely. I need to know all of the fall books. But yeah, I think that's it. Let's just go ahead and get started. So question number 1 is, in fall, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. And like, okay, did I choose one book for each question?
Absolutely not.
Because how? How is that possible? I do not know. If you do, you're a rock star. I cannot do that. So I have 2 or 3 answers for each question, but I will go over them super quickly so we aren't here forever. So my first answer for this question is These Fleeting Shadows by Kate Alice Marshall. This is a haunted house story. It's a YA horror and it's about a haunted, creepy house. We have our main character who is moving back there after a family member has passed away, and some creepy things start happening. And like, let me tell you, the setting of this house and the atmosphere in this book is absolute perfection. It is so eerie, it is so creepy. There's scenes where they go in the woods and get up to some shenanigans, and even those scenes about them being in the woods, my god, it's so creepy, but also so vivid. You can just see everything perfectly, and the way Kate Alice Marshall describes this house, oh no, no, no. There's like different twists and turns and things that come out, and I would literally die because I hate haunted houses, but I also really love this book. So I had to put this at top of the list. And then I also included The Dead in the Dark by Courtney Gould. This is not like an obvious answer, but what I will say is the town in this book is so vivid and so creepy. This book takes place in a really small town called Snakebite, and the way the town is described, it's like it's a main character in the book. Like, the town is such a incredible setting and it's so descriptive, and you just can feel the energy of this town, and like, not in a good way. It almost reminds me of, like, if you've ever watched the spin-off of Pretty Little Liars and you saw Ravenswood, like, it kind of reminds me of that, of like, everyone's a little bit creepy, everyone's watching everyone. It just reminds, like, I could see that Snakebite would be like in that weird kind of color palette, if that makes sense. Like, that's what comes to mind. So I just feel like it's the perfect answer for this, even though it's not like an incredibly obvious choice. And I loved this book so much. It's one of my top favorites of the year. Everything about it is creepy and just perfect for this time of year, but specifically I chose it because the town, something else. And then my last answer for this is actually The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. This, obviously, you know, not autumn because we have this snowy cover, but if you are looking to get like curled up with a good thriller that has incredible atmosphere, this is the book to choose, because the atmosphere in here, not only from the house that they're staying in, but just the snowiness of it all, and like you just feel like you're blanketed inside and you can't go anywhere, and it is just so creepy. There's also like this weird history to the house that they're staying in that just gives it this like extra eerie feeling, and I just like the atmosphere in here was perfect. I mean, this is an unhinged thriller, okay? It is unhinged. I love every single second of it, but the atmosphere definitely made this book like come to life. Question number 2 is nature is beautiful but also dying. So sad. That is, it's a little close to home these days. Name a book that is beautifully written but also deals with a heavy topic like loss or grief. So my first option for this answer is actually just an author, and that's reading Ashley Poston. She does an incredible job of bringing loss and grief into her romance books, and y'all know I am not a romance girly. It is not my go-to genre, but my friend Jess got me to read this earlier this year, and I absolutely loved it, that I knew immediately when she came out with something else, I was going to pick it up, because the romance is almost like a side plot in these. Really, the main topic of these books is loss and grief. In this one, we have our main character who has just recently lost her dad, and she goes back to her hometown to kind of deal with everything and be with her family, and her family actually owns like a funeral home mortuary situation. So it's very much like a family story while also dealing with loss and grief. And then obviously you have that kind of extra layer on top of it of this romance happening with someone you just wouldn't expect. And it just is so incredibly done. Her writing is gorgeous and really just makes you feel everything that this main character, but also her family is going through. And truly at the heart of this, it's a family story. Also kind of the same with the 7-Year Slip. In this one, our main character recently loses her aunt and she inherits her apartment, and when she goes there, she sees some guy in there and she's like, what in the heck in the world? Like, what are you doing in this apartment? And turns out he's from 7 years in the past. So this one has a little bit of like a time travel aspect to it, and I love this one because it's not only obviously about a romance and an unexpected romance at that, but it's also more so about grief and her kind of navigating life after this loss and what she's going through as someone who's, I believe she's in her 30s or like getting close to her 30s, and like, hi, that's super relatable. I feel like we all get to that point where we're like, what am I doing with my life? Like, is my career actually my career? And like, nothing like a loss of someone close to you to like really bring all of those questions to the surface, and that's really what's happening in this one. So definitely Ashley Poston, but also, I mean, can we let this question go without even including We Spread by Ian Reid? I do not think so, because this one is horror in like a totally different way, but also deals with a bit of loss and grief in the terms of she is really coming to terms with the fact that she might be losing her memory, question mark. In this one, we are following an elderly woman, and she gets placed into a home because she might be dealing with some sort of dementia. But like, is she really? And that's really the question of that. But it's really an exploration of like what it feels like to be in that situation where like you don't know, like, am I losing my mind? Am I going through dementia and like dealing with all these like memory loss issues? Or is something else going on? What is happening? And it really deals with the kind of heartbreak and just loss of like your overall self. So loss in a different way, but not really. And it's beautifully done, and it's Ian Reid, so it's done in like such a creepy and gut-wrenching way because he just knows how to bring it with the emotions. And this one pretty much has made everyone cry. Like, if you have ever had someone in your life deal with memory loss, dementia, Alzheimer's, anything, or you just have someone in your life who's getting older, I mean, this brings so many feelings to the surface, good and bad, and oh man, it's a read. It is a read, pun intended, but not really. Moving on, question number 3 is fall is back to school season. Share a non-fiction book that taught you something new. And if I'm being honest, it has been a hell of a minute since I have read a non-fiction that wasn't like a celebrity memoir. I just have been gravitating towards them more recently as like a more fun, lighthearted kind of situation, although not all of them are fun and lighthearted. Let's be real. A lot of them take on a lot of serious topics, but you know what I mean, not diving into super like self-helpy kind of books. I did that for a while. There's a time and place for it, but right now I just haven't really been interested in any of them. So I'm going to share with you one of my all-time favorite non-fictions, and that is The Year of Less by Kate Flanders. This is a book about a woman who really takes a look at her life, and she is surrounded by all of these things, meaning material things, and she goes through this year-long exploration of one, trying to pay off her debt, and that's like really the heart of the story of the, like, if you are someone who is in debt or really trying to be better about money, this book is for sure explores that, but also explores the side of things of like consumerism and like, do we really need all of these things around us? So she goes on kind of a minimalist journey as well, while also trying to pay off her debt, and it was something that I needed. I know not everyone will be at a place where they, will benefit from a book like this, but if you are someone who is trying to minimize their things or trying to pay off debt, I really do think that this book is something to check out. Also, the audiobook is amazing. That's how I consumed this book, literally over and over and over again. I have listened to this book probably over 15 times whenever I feel like I'm getting a little spendy or notice that the things around me are accumulating and I feel like I need to like check myself. This is a book that I go back to time and time and time again. So that just says something right there. Like, I literally have listened to this so many times. I really resonate with it. It came at a time for me where I was like, I really heard what she was saying and felt kind of what she was going through. She also talks about like changing her career and not just like minimalizing things, but also like relationships in her life and that kind of thing. So if you're kind of looking to like do an overhaul on your life, check this book out. Question number 4 is, in order to keep warm, it's good to spend some time with the people we love. Name a fictional family, household, friend group that you would like to be a part of. Again, I have a few answers for this one, but like, first and foremost, I would love to be friends with all of the people in Heartstopper. I feel like that has to be my obvious answer. I recently read all of Heartstopper this year, and then obviously binge watched season 1 and then season 2 when it came out, and like, regardless if it's the book or the show, I need to be friends with this friend group. They are just the cutest found family I have ever seen in my life, and like, I need to be a part of this friendship group. It just makes me so nostalgic for the days where like you would go to your friends' houses and like have movie nights and sleepovers and that kind of thing, and like maybe you have a friend group that you do that with as an adult, and if you do, that's amazing. All of my friends are kind of scattered all over the place, so that's really hard to do now, but I just need to like integrate into it. Also, just the inclusion in that group, and just everyone's so fun and friendly, and like they deal with like their drama and situations in a way that like I really respect, and I want to be friends with them, okay. But I also, again, weird because I'm human, but like, Legends and Lattes. Like, sign me up to sit in this coffee shop all day long, try out the coffee that Viv's making, try out all of the treats that Thimble's making. Just park me on a stool or in a booth. I will just chill all day long and like immerse myself in this world. Like, I don't need anything else. You said coffee, you said treats, give me a book, I'm good. That's like all I need in life. So yes, sign me up to be in here. Question number 5 is, the colorful leaves are piling up on the ground. Show us a pile of fall colored spines. Okay, hold on, I'll be right back. All right, we have kind of a fall-inspired stack, I think. Oh, there we go. Some fall colors. I really went for like the orange, browns, reds, and yellows there. So that is my fall stack. That was actually kind of difficult because I don't own a lot of books that are these colors. Do you know how many black spines I own? So many. So many. So I could have gone like black and orange, but I decided to go fall leaves instead. Anyways, here's my fall stack. Number 6 is fall is the perfect time for some storytelling by the fireside. Share a book wherein someone is telling a story. So I have 3 answers for this one as well. My first one is For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. This one I chose because it really feels like our main character Teddy, and like I love Teddy. He's horrible and like a deplorable human, but I just love him as a character. Like you can't not, if you read this, again, especially if you like sarcastic personalities, he's just the worst of the worst, but like you can't help but like him as a character. Anyways, it feels like Teddy is speaking right to you in this book. I don't know what it is, but he literally is just like talking right to you and telling the story. So I had to choose this one. Like I said, Teddy's awful. We don't like approve of him, but we also love him as a character. So like I am here for him telling me all about the horrible things that he has done in this book. And then my other 2 answers kind of involve a podcast element, so that's where the storytelling part comes in. The first one is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This is my favorite Lisa Jewell so far. This was unhinged and incredible. I freaking love this so much. I love an unhinged female story. There's something about it. There's just something about it. It just tickles my bones. I think it's because I would never act in such a way that when I see or read these characters, I'm like, it's so unbelievable to me, but like I know that it happens, so that just like makes it even more, I don't want to say enjoyable because that's horrible, but you know what I mean, like you just can't look away, and that's how I feel in this book. Like I could not look away. I was just reading as fast as possible. This one on audio is incredible. Like the voice acting in this audiobook is unreal. Like there is a part where one of our main characters screams, like they're having like an argument and she starts screaming, but the voice actor in the audiobook is screaming, and it's jarring when you're listening to it because you're not expecting it, but it makes the audiobook, it's so good. But anyways, in this one we have our 2 main characters. They share a birthday. One of them has this kind of famous podcast for having people come on who identify as women and share their story about who they are and what they've been through and what they do now, whether that be an entrepreneur or someone who has been through some horrible things in their lives and look where they are now. So very empowering stories. And she meets her birthday twin in a restaurant on their birthday, and she's like, oh my god, we share a birthday. And this birthday twin is like, I have this story. I know who you are. I know who your podcast is. I have this story. Can I come on your podcast and share it? And it really brings you through their relationship and her telling the story on the podcast and everything. It's crazy town USA, but it is so good, and I highly recommend it. And then my other answer for this is The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is one of my all-time favorite YA horrors, but also just horrors in general. This was so incredibly well done. This was inspired by Carrie, but make it like in the modern day. So our main character is half white and half black, but she is told from a young age, and her father is very adamant that she pass as white. So they do things to her appearance and her hair to make sure that she looks white at all times. And one day she is out on the track field, it starts to rain, and her hair starts to go wavy and curly, and people start realizing that she is half black, and it really goes through the bullying process of people figuring that out and how they treat her afterwards and everything she goes through. And if you know anything about the original Carrie, you can imagine where this goes. But there's also a podcast element in here as well of them telling the story years after the fact and having people who were there that night, you know what I'm talking about, shared their experience afterwards too, and I highly recommend this one on audio too. Any book that contains a podcast element, you're better off listening to it on audio because it is a truly elevated experience. But yeah, this one, oh my god, one of my favorites of all time. The social commentary on this, while also tying in the inspiration from Carrie, was just chef's kiss perfect. Also, I could really say any Tiffany D. Jackson story for this answer, because Monday's Not Coming is also one that's done in kind of like story form that is so hard-hitting and incredible. So I could really choose any from her, but I mean, for this time of year, I'm gonna say The Way of Blood. And then question number 7 is, the nights are getting darker, share a dark, creepy read. And like, oh my goodness, the level, like how does one choose just 1 or 2 answers for this? But I did, and I tried to keep it to ones that like I highly recommend, and also ones that I haven't talked about a ton yet. And also, if you know my taste, you know that like I like lighthearted scary, so like I never go like super dark. You're never gonna catch me reading or talking about like a truly dark and disturbing horror. It's just not up my street. So my 2 answers for this, the first one is My Dearest Darkest by Kayla Cottingham. This one I freaking loved. This is a YA horror. It's a dark academia. It's queer. It's like The Craft meets Heathers meets bunnies, like all of the buzzwords that you could possibly imagine for that kind of setting. It's incredible. I am obsessed with it. In this one, we are following our main character who experienced a horrific accident. Her parents both passed away, but somehow by this creepiness, she survived. She's not sure exactly how. She just remembers seeing something that night and she survived. And now she is going to be going to the school. And once she gets there, she meets this group of friends and some weird shit starts happening within the friend group. There's some things that happen with the school. I'm gonna keep it very vague, but it is very dark, very creepy, and I just freaking loved it so much. I think it's one of my favorite YA horrors for sure, and I just want to recommend this to freaking everyone. It's so good. It's so good. So if you haven't read it yet and that kind of theme is your jam, definitely check this one out. And then I have to recommend a middle grade, okay? Like I could have gone total opposite, and I'm sure some people will, with recommending you some really dark horror, and like that's on them to do. Me, I'm gonna keep it lighthearted, and like I had to put a middle grade on this list because I just love lighthearted, scary middle grade. It is some of my favorite kind of stories to consume this time of year because it's kind of cozy, but it's kind of scary, and I just love it. So my recommendation for this is The Clackety by Laura Senf. I love this book so much. It gives such Tim Burton vibes. If you like Coraline, if you like Nightmare Before Christmas, that kind of your vibe, if you like Beetlejuice, like that, this book is for you. This one we are following our main character Evie, who lives with her aunt, her aunt kind of talks to ghosts or deal with ghosts in some sort of way, and she goes out to this building one day to like check out the situation there and ends up getting like sucked into this other world. So Evie then goes out on a mission to save her, and she really goes through kind of like this adventure in this other world where it's almost like Goldilocks and Three Bears. Like she has to go into these different houses and behind these different doors and like figure out the next mission. So it's a little bit Alice in Wonderland, but like make it Tim Burton, but not the way that Tim Burton made Alice in Wonderland. That doesn't make sense at all, but it's more like Beetlejuice, Coraline kind of vibes than it is like Alice in Wonderland kind of vibes, but just like imagine that kind of adventure. And it's so actually really dark, and there's a lot of heavy topics in this book along loss and grief and mental health and bullying and that kind of thing, while also dealing with this really fun adventure, but also really dark and creepy at the end. I loved every single second of it. So if you haven't checked it out and you like slightly scary middle grade, definitely check this one out. All right, we have 2 questions left. The next one, number 8, is The Days Are Getting Colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that could warm up somebody's cold and rainy day. And like, if you know me, you know that short, cozy reads are my jam. I freaking love them so much. Cozy fantasy is like my ultimate. I love YA horror and cozy fantasy. That is like me in a nutshell. So this was so hard to pare down. So hard, but I think I've done it. So my first recommendation for this, and I feel like is kind of an obvious choice, so I'm gonna get it out of the way, is Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. This whole series is like portal fantasy, and it's just so good. In the series, we follow a group of students. You get a different student's perspective in each book, and they take you through their story, through what happened when they went beyond their door, which if you imagine behind their door, there's worlds like Candyland, Narnia, Wonderland. I'm not exactly, but imagine that's what's kind of they've experienced. Some of them go to like the underworld and it's really dark and creepy and that kind of thing. So there's really a different door for everyone, and each book follows a new character and what they went through. And this is just one of my ultimate favorite cozy fantasy reads. They are so short, they're little novellas, less than 200 pages, most of them, and they are so good. Also, they're good on audio too, so if you're just looking for like a quick listen, you can definitely check these out. But oh my god, this series as a whole, love it. And then I have one that's a little bit darker, and that's Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. This one is just over 200 pages, I believe, and it is so good. This is like a found family cozy fantasy, make it dark fairy tale. Oh my god, I love it. The cast of characters that comes together in the story you would never expect, but I love every single one of them, especially the Bone Dog. Oh my god, I love the Bone Dog. He's incredible. He doesn't even talk, and he's just like such main character energy. I love it. There's also a little bit of a romance happening in this book. It's so short, and it's T. Kingfisher, so you know the writing is absolutely incredible, and also the atmosphere in here. And also, it's a little bit higher stakes than some cozy fantasy. Like Legends and Lattes is like extremely low stakes, even like too low for some people. This one is a little bit higher stakes, not like high stakes fantasy. I would say it's like medium stakes fantasy. It just feels a little bit more heart-pounding than like your typical cozy fantasy, and I loved it for that, and I just love that it's like a titch bit darker. So definitely recommend this one. And then one of my favorite reads of the year so far is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. This one will make you feel all of the feels, and also just really, really impact your inner child. This is a healing story for the inner child, and I just loved it, okay? I am obsessed with it. There's a storyline here that I wasn't really expecting. I don't read the synopsis of a lot of books before I go into them, in case you were wondering, so like, it was in the synopsis, but there's a storyline here that I wasn't expecting about a teacher and a student and their relationship and how she really wants to adopt him, and that kind of thing, which was just so heartwarming in itself. And they share this love of this children's book series. He really finds solace in it because he is going through, you know, foster home to foster home and just kind of feeling like an outcast, and he just feels really seen through the series, and her as an adult is something that she really connected with as a child, and feeling like an outsider and that kind of thing. So they really bond together through the series, and then she gets the opportunity to go to this island where the stories take place called Clock Island, and go through this game to win a prize. And she really wants to do it so that she can have the funds and everything like that to adopt this boy, but everyone who's there for this competition has like a different reason, and it really brings you through like their experience with the books as they were as children, and what it means to them now, and going through this game, and what they would do if they won, and that kind of thing, while also just bringing to life this island and like this kind of childlike environment that this island and the host of the game, who is the author of these books, like brings to life for these adults. It really makes you connect with your inner child. Like I said, it's very healing, it's so warm, warm and heartfelt. This is also just under 300 pages, so it's really not that long at all, but it is such a cozy read. This is the perfect book to like light the fire, get a warm blanket, get some cozy treats, a warm drink, and like read this in an afternoon on like a really miserable rainy day. Perfect chef's kiss. I wish I could have that again, because that's exactly the environment that this book should be consumed in, and like maybe I'll just do that again. Maybe I'll reread it. And speaking of rereading, the last question, number 9, is fall returns every year. Name an old favorite that you'd like to return to soon. And it's weird because I've actually been thinking about doing this for a few months now. There are so many books that I would like to reread. Some of my favorites that I've only read once before. So I'm thinking in December I might take the last few weeks, or just even the whole month, depending upon what's coming out and what I'm interested in or what I haven't gotten to throughout the rest of the year, and pick some of my faves and reread them. So I have a few here, but honestly, really just depends upon what I'm in the mood for. I could just be rereading some of my favorites that I read this year. Like, oh my god, I could go on with this list. I could say Divine Rivals, I could say Fourth Wing, I could say Belladonna, I could say Legendborn. Like, there's so many good books that I read this year that I'm like, oh, I would totally reread that. I could say The Wishing Game. Oh my gosh. But I narrowed it down to a few books that like are some of my all-time faves that I've only read once. So the first one is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I would love to re-listen to the series, but also read along physically. When I originally read these books, I only listened to the audio, and when I got them physically, I didn't realize that she has like some of her maps in here and stuff like that, and like her like red string boards are in here, and there's actually some visuals. So now that I know that, I think I want to reread and like read in tandem with the audiobook. So I'm gonna say A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Even though the last one was not my favorite, I still want to reread the series as a whole. This is not going to be any surprise. Bunny, I've read it once. I need to read it again. I just need to. I just need to. This is a book that should be consumed more than one time, because I know there's things that I'm going to read and pick up on the second or third or fourth time around that I read it that I didn't pick up on the first. Like, feel like I have a good grasp on what happened in here, even though it is completely unhinged and like everyone has a different interpretation. I feel like I have a good grasp on what happened, but like I might change my mind the second time I read it. So I feel like Bunny is an obvious answer, but one I would like to reread. Next one is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. Again, I've only read this once, but is one of my all-time favorite books, so I definitely feel like a reread needs to happen. Also, sorry, the lighting is changing. We have another weird sunny, cloudy day, so I can't change it. I'm sorry. But yeah, I would love to reread this. This is such a heartfelt, cozy read. Found family is my favorite trope, and this is like the ultimate found family. Also, we just found out that he's gonna do a sequel, and it's coming out next year. So like, this could even be reread twice before the next time it comes out. But I definitely feel like this is the perfect book to like cozy up with as well. So I feel like this is a good December read, even though it gives very summer vibes. I just feel like I need to reread that. And then one of my favorite books of all time, again, is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Again, have only read it once. I didn't annotate this when I first read it. I wasn't really into annotating, and I don't annotate heavily these days, but I feel like this is one where I would like to go through and annotate this, because some of my favorite quotes of all time are from this book. This has such incredible writing. V.E. Schwab really like hit the nail on the head here. It's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. I love the story so much. So I definitely want to get back into it and reread it. So I think I might pick this one up, annotate it this time around, so I really get a chance to like soak it in and remember those quotes and like really engrave them in my brain. But yeah, that is my last one, but like there are so many that I could choose from. I've also been thinking about doing a reread of a certain Wizarding World series. I don't want to like heavily talk about that, but I definitely would love to reread those books at some point. It's been so long since I have, so definitely it's not something that I would vlog or put on my channel because I really don't support the author at all, but I do love the book, so like I would like to do it for my own experience, but it's not something that I would like outwardly talk about or anything like that. And yeah, that is all of the questions and all that I have for you today. Like I said, I'm going to tag some friends in the description, but if you want to do this tag, please feel free to do so. It is a book community tag at this point, so definitely please do it because I would love to know your answers. But if you just want to answer them in the comments as well, that is totally fine. I will have all of the questions, like I said, listed out in the description. So if you want to take the time, answer a few, or just chat about some of my answers, you can do so. I would love to chat with you there. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe if you are not already. Turn on the bell so you never miss a video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!
With you and I, the future is bright.